Oh, 7? I don't know. I don't think I asked for that many. Ouch. Well, I've already gave them theirs. Okay.
Okay, this joint meeting of the Board of Directors of the Town of Carefree, Arizona Utilities Community Facilities District and the Board of Directors of the Carefree Water Company will now come to order. Please take a silent roll call. We're all present. Is Mr. Hatcher on the phone?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you. And regular agenda, item number 1, review, discussion, and possible action to approve the June 4th, 2024 joint meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments or corrections to that? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the June 4th joint meeting.
I move that we accept the minutes from the June 4th joint meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 2, review, discussion, and possible action to approve the following. A resolution number 2024-04, authorizing the president of the water company to enter into the following contract. Construction contract number 2024-C01 with Elite Civil Construction LLC for the Peaceful Place Booster Pump Station Site Improvements Project for an amount not to exceed $756,000. Mr. Crossman.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. Just to real quickly go through a summary of our agenda items. We just went through agenda item number 1, which was the approval of the June 4th meeting minutes. Agenda item number 2 is the award of the construction of the Peaceful Place Booster Pump Station improvements. Agenda item number 3 will be the acceptance and approval of the findings of our fiscal year 2023-2024 audit report. And agenda item number 4 is informational only. We will be discussing some new regulatory requirements that impact water service lines, and we'll be giving you an update on that. Moving into agenda item number 2, that is the approval of construction for the Peaceful Place Booster Pump Station site improvements. We are recommending that that be awarded to Elite Civil Construction LLC in an amount not to exceed $756,000. The resolution and the contract number that you're being asked to approve is shown on this slide. Just to give you a little bit of background and refresh your memory on the Peaceful Place Booster Pump Station. It is shown by the red dot on this map. Peaceful Place is an existing booster pump station that was within our original water company service area. The impetus to improve Peaceful Place was the transition of the western portion of Neighborhood B, about 24 residents in that area which have not yet been transitioned over to Carefree Water. This is the last remaining set of folks that need to be transitioned into the Carefree Water Company system. They do have, or some portions of this western part of Neighborhood B do have fire hydrants and fire flow to those fire hydrants. And we're looking to replicate that with the improvements to the Peaceful Place Booster Pump Station. As it sits today, we don't have fire flow capability at the Peaceful Place Booster Pump Station. This is a zoomed in view of the northern part of the service area for Peaceful Place. And I don't know if you can see my cursor, if you can't. Peaceful Place is located on the very south or lower portion of this slide at the blue dot. Thank you. We see that? No? Okay. This slide also shows you about 3,200 lineal feet, of new 6-inch pipeline that has been installed along Peaceful Place and Nevermind Trail. That was done by Aiken Gardner Construction as part of the original Carefree Water Consolidation Project. They also installed 7 new fire hydrants along this alignment. And when we do finish the improvements to the Peaceful Place booster pump station, flow through this new pipeline will allow us into transition over these 24 customers that reside in the western part of Neighborhood B. And it will also allow us to provide fire protection along Peaceful Place and Nevermind Trail to these 7 new fire hydrants that have been installed to 21 customers within our original service area. So some very nice fire protection benefits that are going to result out of the Peaceful Place booster pump station. In addition, there are some future possibilities for fire protection improvements from the Peaceful Place booster pump station. In this graphic, in the southern part of the service area of Peaceful Place, in this graphic, Peaceful Place is in the northern or upper part of this graphic. And there are 31 customers in the southern part of the service area that in the future, with future improvements, could benefit with fire protection capabilities, with pipeline improvements and fire hydrant improvements as we provided in the northern part. So all said and done, the fire protection benefits that result from the Peaceful Place booster pump station improvements include the potential for 52 properties within our original service area and the 24 properties that will be able to transition in the western part of Neighborhood B. A summary of the improvements that we'll be doing to Peaceful Place include we will be upgrading our APS service to the booster pump station to 480 volts. Right now it's 220 volt that serves the property and serves the pump station. We will be adding 2 new duty pumps at the pump station and 1 new emergency pump to provide fire flow protection. The booster pump station will also have its on-site electrical system improved so that it can handle the 480 volts from APS, along with, we'll be doing some miscellaneous piping to tie into the pipe work that was done by Aiken Gardner Construction under the water consolidation project. We also have an existing emergency backup generator on the site, which will be reconfigured for the 480 volt configuration. We'll also be moving it on the site to give us a little bit more room. The funding for these improvements was budgeted at $800,000, and that funding comes from the $2 million capital advance that was approved by the council and the board in fiscal year 23-24 that was transferred over from the town to the UCFD and the water company. So that's, we're putting that $800,000 to very good use for both the original service area and the transition folks in the west side of Neighborhood B. So again, the award details, we are recommending it is awarded to Elite Civil Construction LLC. We did get 3 bids on the project, with Elite being the low bidder at $756,000. The high bidder on the project was about $1.14 million. We did also require each bidder to submit 3 similar projects with references, and the references have been checked for Elite, and they have come out very good. So we're comfortable in awarding this contract to Elite. The term of construction for substantial completion is 270 calendar days, so 9 months, which puts us at completion about August of 2025. There are some electrical components that are pretty typical for new booster pump station construction. They're long lead items, and that's why that time for substantial completion of 270 days is that long. So with that, I'd open it up to any questions that the board might have.
I have a question. The high bid being $1.136 million, it seems a bit of a spread there. Were there additional services that were provided in that bid? What was such a difference? Because cheaper isn't always better.
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Delicio, No, it was for the exact same bid, and actually the middle bidder came in closer to the 756. They were about just under $900,000. So we had a little bit of a spread, but we feel like the high bidder may have been a little bit high, and we think that, you know, the low two are right in the realm of where we should be. So we're very comfortable with where we're at right now with awarding it to Elite.
I have a question. The wall that surrounds where this equipment is, it appears to be like a 12 by 14 foot space. Is that big enough for all the new equipment?
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Miller, we worked very hard to make sure that we could fit everything we needed to inside this space. We actually share the space with Liberty also. And so we've removed a large 5,000 gallon pressure tank at the site. We're running the booster pump station now off of VFD. So that was some of the delay in getting the project out on the street, as we needed to fit quite a bit of improvements in a small space. But we made it work, and we're comfortable that with the removal of the pressure tank, that we've got enough room to do everything that we need to do.
So the walls won't move out nor gain height.
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Miller, yeah, we didn't want to impact the walls on the site, because once you start enlarging the site, then the costs really tend to increase significantly. So that's why we wanted to be able to put the improvements within the existing facility. And so, yeah, we will
Great.
not be doing anything to impact the exterior walls.
Very, very good.
The 7 hydrants, they're installed now. They have like little signs on them that say out of service, or are they?
We actually have black bags over them,
Okay,
Mr.
even
Chairman.
better.
And so just recently they do get a little weathered, and so we had to go and reinstall them. But Rural Metro is aware that they are out of service.
So the good news is, when this is all said and done, they'll all be service-worthy fire hydrants. We'll have 24 residents in Area B getting service, and we position ourselves to help a lot of other people. It's a great thing.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments or questions from the board?
I have a question. Greg?
Yes, Board Member Hatcher.
Yes, it's a little hard to hear. I apologize. Did you say that the building is underground or above ground?
This is an above-ground booster pump station, but it is enclosed in it's in a walled facility. So it's not visible from the street, and we will not be impacting those walls. All the work will be done within this walled facility.
Is that okay, Mr. Hatcher?
I'm sorry. I'm getting feedback that I apologize. I appreciate the answer. It's above ground property that's not visible from the street, is what I heard.
It's an above-ground booster pump station that is enclosed in a walled facility, so you cannot see inside the facility from the street.
As well,
And I would assume it's all secure and locked. I mean, that's a lot of expensive equipment.
Correct. It is gated and locked, so we do have access by opening the gate, but it is locked and secured.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments?
well, there's canopy trees surrounding it, which screens the wall, which is good for the neighbors.
Okay, good. Okay, noted. Any other comments or questions? Do you have a slide showing the motion, or should I just read the motion from here?
Mr. Chairman, no, I don't have a
fine.
specific slide, so
That's
if you
fine.
can read it off the agenda.
So if there's no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2024-04, authorizing the President of the Water Company to enter into the following contract, construction contract number 2024-03 C01 with Elite Civil Construction Engineering, or Civil Construction LLC for the Peaceful Place Booster Pump Station Site Improvements Project for an amount not to exceed $756,000.
Motion to approve Resolution 2024-04, authorizing President of the Water Company to enter into construction contract number 2024-C01 with Elite Civil Construction LLC for improvements to the Peaceful Place Booster Pump Station in an amount not to exceed $756,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Thank you. Very good. Item number 3, a review, discussion, and possible action to accept the findings of the 2023-2024 fiscal year audit of the district by approval of Resolution 2024-05. Mr. Grossman.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to welcome our audit reps. We have with us tonight from the audit firm of Heinfield Meach, Jennifer Shields, who's a CPA, will be representing the firm. We normally have with us Megan Orm, who's our district treasurer for the UCFD. She could not be here because of family commitments, but she does give her regrets. But we'll continue on without Megan and wish her the best. As far as our audit goals, our goals for this year were pretty similar to what they have been in previous years. Our goals for the audit are to make sure we're observing good accounting practices. We also want to make sure that we're in compliance with GASB requirements, which is Governmental Accounting Standards Board requirements. We want to make sure that all of our financial documents are free from misstatements. We also want to guard against fraud and misuse of our public funds and provide you as the board transparency, and also transparency to all of our customers and all of the residents of Carefree. And we want to make sure that we can meet all of our debt obligations. And I'm happy to report that we feel like all of our audit goals have been met. Just briefly, we feel like our audit results are good. We feel like we ended up with a clean audit. We feel like our accounting practices are in order. Our financial statements are free from misstatements. We are able to meet our obligations, and from Megan's perspective and my perspective, the UCFD and the water company are in sound financial condition. I don't want to speak for Jennifer, and I'll give her an opportunity here in just a minute to speak about the audit, but we think Megan and I think we are in good shape. Speaking of our debt obligations, our largest and probably most important debt obligation right now is our Series 2021 revenue bonds. As part of our bond requirements, we are required to post our audit results by February 1st of every year, so we're well on the way by hopefully having them approved in November to posting those on the MO website. As far as repayment goes, we are in repayment of these Series 2021 bonds. We had 3 interest during construction payments that have been completed, and to date we've paid about $1.6 million in bond repayments. So we feel like we're in good shape as far as our revenue bonds go. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer to have her add anything that she would like to about the audit results, and then we'll open it up to questions that the board might have. Jennifer?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Crossman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, those in attendance, thank you for allowing me a few minutes of time to spend with you to talk about the audit. Greg has obviously shared the good news with you, which is that the audit report is clean, so that is good news. So I'll continue on. Our audit standards require that the auditor give a presentation to those charged with governance, which includes yourselves, in a manner. We have specific things that we have to communicate with you, and then also there's a state statute that does require municipalities and related organizations have an opportunity for the council to have a discussion with the auditor that did the audit. So it's my pleasure to have worked with you all for the last 5 years as the partner on the project. And let's see, so required communications. So the timeline of the audit begins when we issue the engagement letter, which happens usually in about the late spring or early summer timeframe. So that's when the audit starts. And then we conducted our fieldwork procedures in the month of August. So we come out on site and ask for lots and lots of documentation and go through all of the records provided by mostly Megan, but Greg as well. And then we prepared the draft of the audited financial statements and submitted those to management for review and approval in the month of October. And then, of course, we're here tonight to present the results. So as was stated earlier, the opinion on the financial statements is unmodified. That means there are no material misstatements that were noted during the audit. The audit also does not report any deficiencies in internal control that would rise to a level that need to be reported to those charged with governance. So again, that's a good thing. In terms of other required communications, there are certain estimates that occur in any set of financial statements. So there are some estimates within the financial statements for the UCFD, but those are things that involve things like assets and depreciation, or estimates for if we have any estimates of uncollectible customer receivables or things like that, but nothing out of the ordinary. I'm happy to report that we did not encounter any difficulties during the audit, nor did we have any disagreements with management about any accounting principles with respect to the financial statements. And then also, being that we are your independent auditors, we are required under our standards to maintain certain compliance with ethical responsibilities. And so I'm also here tonight to represent to you that our firm had no violations of our ethical standards that we have been charged to adhere to. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you. Everyone here, Greg and Megan especially, they work really hard to be able to get all of the information put together. And this is actually a really quick timeline. I know it may not seem like it, from the end of June until November, but it's actually a really quick timeline to turn an audit around, and it's not an easy thing to do without having a lot of cooperation from management, and they put a lot of effort and energy into just making sure that they are available to us and provide all the information in a timely manner. So without them, we would not be able to be here as quickly as we are tonight. So with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions.
First, thank you for working with us for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And congratulations, Greg and Megan.
Thank you. I do need to say that Heinfield Meach has really done a great job in working with us and trying to streamline our audit effort in trying to get as much as possible up front electronically, which has really made it much easier when they come out on site. If they've gotten all these documents up front electronically, that minimizes the effort when they come on site and the documents they have to look at. So it really has been very encouraging to work with them and see them implement all of these electronic improvements to the audit process.
Okay, excellent. Are there any other questions or comments?
Just a quick
Yeah.
question. Were there any recommendations in terms of improving internal controls?
I'm not aware of any. There are sometimes things that we come across that are minor instances, like say if a bank statement doesn't get reconciled within, a quick enough time period, something like a month, but nothing that rose to any significant.
So you're satisfied with the chain of custody for check signing, that type of stuff?
Yes, absolutely. And I know that's a concern in smaller organizations where, you do have a certain amount of staff that, essentially touch financial transactions, but it is possible to have good segregation of duties to make sure that you have enough people involved in any one transaction to minimize the risks that are there. And so I feel like with the way that things are set up, there's there's sufficient segregation of duties with the limited staff that have, that are involved, so. It's a
Well-
delicate balance between having enough staff to do the work and
Oh,
being
I've been there.
overstaffed, so.
I get that.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations to Mr. Crossman, because I know he runs pretty lean.
Yeah, we always have that discussion with the auditors on separation of duties and who opens the checks, who processes the checks, who deposits the checks, and it's like, well, we've got two people in the front office, so we do have some duties, but we try and overlap those as much as possible to have segregation of duties and have these checks and balances that the auditors like to see.
Any other comments? Okay, well, very good, Jennifer. Thank you.
thank you.
So now I would entertain a motion to accept the findings of the 2023-2024 fiscal year audit of the district by approval of Resolution 2024-05.
Motion to approve Resolution 2024-05 results in the acceptance and approval of the district's audit findings for fiscal year 23-24 as presented in the audit report prepared by Heinfield Meach and Company.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, great, thanks. We'll call you back later. Agenda item number 4. This is informational only. Discussion and information regarding new Environmental Protection Agency requirements for documentation of service lines and notices that are required to be sent to certain customers in the future. Mr. Crossman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you again. This item is informational only, but it does discuss some new regulatory requirements we are responsible for related to water service lines, and it's an update on that process. Every customer within Carefree should have received a letter from me in early November, about a week ago. We sent these out with the October water bills. Just talking about these new regulatory requirements related to water service lines. And just so we're all on the same page, this schematic does show what we're talking about as far as water service lines. And a water service line is this blue horizontal line that stretches across this graphic. And essentially it goes from the water main all the way over to entering the building, the home or business. If we start on the left side of this graphic, this is the water main that typically runs in the street in front of your property. The water service line is typically a small diameter water line, as small as 3/4 of an inch, usually upwards of about an inch, sometimes can get up to 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, even up to 2 inches, but that's rare. So most service lines are 3/4 inch or inch in diameter. The service line then does connect to the water main and then continues on to provide water to the property and the building on the will be the water meter that we use, obviously, to meter the water delivery to the property and bill off of. That's usually about at the property line. Everything on the water main side of that water meter, we call the utility side of the service line. That's the side that the utility company, or we as the Carefree Water Company, are responsible for. So if there is a water leak on that side of the water meter, it's our responsibility to fix. Everything on the house or business side of the water meter is called the customer side of the service line. That's typically the responsibility of either the homeowner or the business owner. So if there's a leak on that side of the water meter, it is typically the responsibility of the business owner or the homeowner to fix that service line. In this discussion where we're talking about new EPA requirements for service lines, we're actually talking about this entire service line from the water main to where it enters the property. We are not talking about internal plumbing within the building, but we are talking about the service line up to the point where it enters the building. These new regulatory requirements actually go back, and the background for these date back to a water crisis in Flint, Michigan that occurred about 10 years ago. in 2024. In 2014. In that year, Flint, Michigan switched their water delivery or their source water from Lake Huron water to Flint River water. Flint River water actually ended up being more corrosive than Lake Huron water. And it ended up that Flint, Michigan had a number of lead service lines, and it caused a lot of corrosion in these lead service lines, and then ended up having a lot of lead delivered to customers within Flint, Michigan, which was a very unfortunate and situation for Flint. After this, EPA then embarked on what they call the LCRI, the Lead Copper Rule Improvements, because they really wanted to get a better handle on lead service lines. And of course, as with any EPA requirements, they don't just apply to one part of the country, they apply to the entire country. So the intent of these lead copper rule improvements was to identify lead service lines and to get them replaced. So now here we are 10 years later, and some of the requirements, regulatory requirements of the LCRI, the lead copper rule improvements, are coming to fruition. With the first one being by October 16th of this year, all water systems were required to submit an LSLI, a lead service line inventory, to their primary agency. For us, that was ADEQ, the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. And those lead service lines were to classify every service line within the water system as either non-lead, unknown material, galvanized, previously connected to lead, or a lead service line. The positive thing for Carefree, and we have submitted our LSLI, or lead service line inventory, to DEQ. That occurred on October 15th, is that about 55% or 1,450 services approximately within Carefree have been certified as non-lead. The other positive thing that came out of our service line inventory is that we have identified no lead service lines to date, and we've identified no galvanized that were previously connected to lead, which is another type of material of concern. Not galvanized itself, but a galvanized service line that was previously connected to lead. That leaves about 45% of our service lines, or about 1,200 service lines, where we have an unknown material, and that's kind of the focus of the remaining part of this presentation. Under the new LCRI rules, the improved rules, there are some new requirements. One requirement that will not be applied is all of the service lines within Carefree and within any community that have been identified as non-lead will not require any notices. But all the other three types of materials, the unknown materials, the galvanized previously connected to lead, and the lead service lines, are required to receive notices that contain EPA verbiage. So that means that about 1,200 notices will need to go out to residents of Carefree that have unknown service lines. I do need to point out that this verbiage does seem a little bit scary. It is written as if the service line were lead, and it is typical of the conservative nature of the EPA. But what I would like to stress tonight is the perspective that anybody who gets one of these notices, the information I'd like to get out to the public is that we have not identified any lead service lines in Carefree to date. There also is no indication in all of the work that we've done up to this point, all of the record searches, all of the work that's been done to get our lead service line inventory done, that lead was ever commonly used or ever used as a service line material in Carefree. We've also had discussions with consultants that have done a significant amount of field work in both Scottsdale and Tempe, And they've actually looked at a lot of these service lines in the field, and they found no lead service lines in Scottsdale, no lead service lines in Tempe. And Scottsdale's development history is very similar to Carefree's development history. And since the 16th, we've also had discussions with ADEQ, the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, who's had submitted to them millions of service lines included in these inventories, and to date, they only know of 5 lead service lines in all of Arizona out of the millions that have been inventoried. So the likelihood of having a lead service line in Carefree is very low. But our next steps, the first unknown notices will be going out by Friday, by the 15th of November. After that, the notices will be required to be sent out annually by the 1st of July. That's starting in 2025. So right on the heels of this first notice, notices will also again have to be sent out in about 7 months to the same folks. Our goal is to move all of these unknown service lines from the unknown category into the non-lead category. That's going to take some expensive field work to change to move these unknown service lines into that non-lead category. We are waiting on guidance from ADEQ, but we are expecting at a minimum we're going to have to dig on both sides of the water meter to expose the type of material it ties into the water meter on both sides of the service line. We also expect that we'll have to inspect the piping that goes into the house or business, and then we can certify that it is non-lead. We do expect this to be a fairly expensive effort, anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000. But fortunately, the town has expressed an interest in assisting us in doing that. It's just going to take us a while to get guidance from DEQ and to hire a consultant. We don't have the ability and staffing to do that right now, to hire a consultant to do this field work, to get all of these notices, all of these service lines moved into the non-lead category. So again, I would like to stress for anybody who receives one of these notices is that we have not identified any lead service lines in Carefree to date. There's no indication that lead was used as a service line material in Carefree. A couple of our neighbors to the south, Scottsdale and Tempe, have found no lead service lines in their area, and in all of Arizona, there have only been 5 lead service lines identified. So with that, I'd open it up to any questions that the board might have.
So Greg, when you send out this letter to the roughly 1,200 folks who are unknown, you have to put in that verbiage from the EPA, which is scary, you say. Do you also include verbiage which helps maintain some kind of perspective, like you wrote here?
That's what our pre-letter that went out in early November, and what this meeting is all about is to kind of temper the information that goes out in that letter, because we cannot modify it.
Okay.
We need to send it out as is. So it is going out that way. So after this is an attempt to try and put out this information that people don't get upset when they get these letters, that they can put it in perspective.
Okay, so we'll send these letters out. We'll probably get some feedback from some folks. And then in July, we have to send out another letter. In the meantime, we just wait for the EPA to give us some direction on how to move forward.
Yeah, we do expect guidance fairly quickly, and then we can have the discussion on how do we fund this field effort to take a look at all these service lines and hopefully get information where we can move them into the non-lead category and not have to send these letters out anymore.
Yeah, I think we certainly have an interest in making our residents feel comfortable in those unknown homes. Because, well, one, there could be a problem. We certainly want to nip that in the bud.
Right.
We wanted to make sure they're comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our goal, is to take a look at all these service lines and verify what we think is true, is that none of them are lead.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yes, is there a code-required minimum depth for the water service line?
There is a building code, I believe it's 24 inches for the service line from the meter to the building. It does, typically in Arizona, the service line does come up and enter the building above ground. So it does come up from that 24-inch depth and enter the building typically above ground, which gives us an opportunity to actually view what kind of material
Right.
is coming into the building.
Maybe, Greg, you can comment too, what kind of homes, or what date of homes, or construction of homes are more likely to be unknown or susceptible?
Typically, the cutoff point in our lead service line inventory was 1988. Anything built after 1988 fell under a ban of lead for service line material. So anything that was built 88 and later typically is classified as non-lead because lead was banned. Anything that was built before 1988 is typically falling in that unknown category.
Okay.
So if it was built before 1988, it's in the 45% category typically?
Correct.
Okay. So 45% of our houses were built before 1988.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And that's something I looked at when this inventory was done, and it all makes sense.
Is there, from a geographic perspective, a pattern to the pre-1988 that you're just aware of, or?
Definitely in the core area of Carefree, a lot of buildings were built pre-1988. Outside of that, there's a little bit of pattern in Neighborhood A in the new acquisition area. There is more post-1988 in some of the peripheral areas, but short of that, it's kind of scattered because of the way our properties have developed and a lot of custom homes that were built depending on, who bought the property and when they wanted to develop the property.
Okay, any other questions or comments? So we'll be hearing from you again on this, hopefully sooner than later.
Definitely.
Okay, great. Okay, so I think that wraps up agenda item number 4. And agenda number 5 is adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The meeting's adjourned. Great, thank you. And thank you, Greg.
Thank you, board.
Yeah.
All right.